And we are live. If you read my Twitter post, and why didn't you if you didn't, I tweeted that between Christian Warren Freed and myself, we've published over 50 books. I've published 6. So we have a man who knows the publishing inside and out, at least how to do it. I don't think any author really knows marketing, but we can ask him. Uh, and he's written in many, many different genres. So, Christian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty great. Happy to be here. It was a pleasant surprise when you invited me on, and I couldn't say no because I don't have any hair either. So I have way less hair than you do. So that's
Okay, well, we have another person with the same hairstyle as you is in the comments, Bowen Greenwood. So thank you, Bowen, for stopping by. The one trick that Roe told me, since he was in media relations for like 30 years, is that you don't start right away talking about the books. You wait for people to arrive first so they can actually hear about them. So we're going to chit chat for a little bit.
it works for
And
me.
I will warn you, he did media relations 30 some odd years, so he runs the interviews because he knows how to do it. I just flail helplessly. So this is my brother Dan. He was also in the military. He was in the Navy. If you have comments about the Navy.
I mean, I do, but I'm gonna be nice. We just started.
Oh, so that'll probably get Dan fired up. Um,
I just
let's
won't say
see.
hey Taylor.
So where are you calling in from, Christian?
Just south of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Just okay. And how long have you been writing?
Full time, or since I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Since you decided that's what you wanted to do.
Started. I won student of the month in like 10th grade for a really bad knockoff horror novel that I want to burn every time I go. I'm 53. I want to burn every time I go home. My mom has it hidden somewhere.
Oh God.
And I wrote a few books when I was in the army. Wound up
When did you
going to
publish your first one?
2012, 2013, somewhere around
Oh
there.
my God.
So not
So
until
in 13 years, 14 years, you have how many books now?
I think I'm on number 45. But before I published, I had already written almost 10 over the
Oh,
years.
okay. Wow, I was going to say EL is going to be jealous of you. EL, I don't know if he'll make it today. He's in Las Vegas, so on Pacific time, but I cannot keep up with that man. He publishes like 5 or 6 books a year,
That's way too
and
many for me.
but you're doing like 4 a year or so.
I was doing more. So I
Oof.
think he was a Marine. I'm in his little group on Facebook, and um, Craig Martell, and he runs that 20 books to 50K group or whatever.
Yep.
And I tried to follow his example, but he's got over 200 titles in the last 10 years. And yeah, I'm out. You win. So,
So, are you a full-time author?
yeah, since I retired from the military, then I got enough where I don't have to go mow lawns or whatever. So, and then part-time realtor assistant.
Oh. So the books are just not raking in the money to live the life of the rich and famous.
No, I'd have a toupee if I could do that. So,
Oh, see, I always tell people I would shave all this off, but then it would take more effort because I'd have to shave more often than just run the clippers every month or so. So
I
I'm
was,
like,
I was,
whatever is the least amount of effort, that's what I want.
yeah, I was so disappointed. So I joined the army when I was 17, and I went to basic training right out of high school, like less than a week later. And I get to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I get my head shaved. I had a lot of hair, and I had my head shaved. And the years go by, and I started wearing that stupid red beret, and it's nothing but wool. And every time I took it off, it looked like I had a dead dog in there. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to retire, and I'm going to grow my hair. And my hair was like, no, you're not. So here we are.
Nice. Let's see. So you've only been publishing for less than 15 years.
Yes.
Where do you sell your books? Because everybody wants to know the magic bullet of how to sell books and become rich and famous as an author.
I'm
than they
listening.
have through history.
Well, I tell people when I go to live events, I tell people, especially I'm thinking about writing the book people. I mean, we all know them. And I was
Yeah,
like, well, you know what? I think I've made every mistake possible, but I'm down to learn new ones. So I had a couple small publishers, forget New York. I could never break through with the whole agent nonsense. So I went
right.
around it. And I had a few small publishers. One went under, one I didn't hear from 6 months. So I convinced them to fire me, and then one was a crook, and I think she's in jail now.
Hmm.
And then the VA was nice enough to send me back to college, so I got a master's in digital communications from UNC Chapel Hill. I learned how to in that other group, the 20 books to 50K guys. I learned how to take my books and turn it into a business. So I started my own label, the Warfighter Books, because brand association.
Right.
And then I just do it myself now. So I put the paperbacks, hardcovers up on Ingram Spark. Because I did have the dream of getting into bookstores, and I think I was in 100 Barnes and Nobles across the country just from cold calling and being a fool. And
Yeah.
so as Stuart Jaffe says, you self-deprecate a lot. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, why not? If it gets me somewhere, I don't mind. And then those are what, 2,000 out, 20, whatever, how many outlets they come through, and then the ebooks are all on Amazon.
Yep. So do you sell a decent amount?
I'm doing more because I got a good pay raise last year through my VA disability, so now I can actually throw money into marketing
Ah, okay.
and like Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to say, so you do ads? Because I've tried that last year. I spent $280 on BookBub for ads, and I sold
Mhm.
$11 worth of books.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Instead of just burning money, which would honestly be easier, I'm just going to not advertise. So, so I just hoof it and do the Comic Cons and suffer, and try not to look desperate when people keep walking past and they don't stop.
But you don't look desperate till the end of the day.
Oh,
And shame on me. And sometimes I feel this way too. But I love watching some of the vendors. And it doesn't have to be book people. It could be anybody. They start like a 4-day event like GalaxyCon. They'll start the event just full of energy and excited. And by about halfway through day 2, they're like,
yeah, you're just
"This sucks." And then the last afternoon, they're just like, "I hate my life." And so I take
yep.
slight pleasure out of that, but I felt the same way a few times. So that's
So the big industry event we have is in New York City, and I went like for 10, 12 years in a row. Then I stopped going for like a decade, and then last year I went, and the first time, and the one woman was like, "Oh, Mike, it's going to be brutal for you. You're going to have to stand on your feet for 9 hours, 2 days in a row." I'm like,
oh no.
okay. I'm like, I do that on concrete. We have a pad there that you can stand. I'm like, this is cake. You will not hear me complain. And sure enough, everybody's like, "Oh my God, my ankle." I'm like, I'm good. If
Yeah.
nothing else, I have learned how to stand. That is
Yep.
what I've learned from being an author.
Yeah. And say the same thing over and over 1,000 times a day.
Yeah,
And I always come home and I usually get dinner, take a shower, and go to bed during an event because most of what I do are local-ish.
yep,
And my wife still doesn't understand. Like, I'm tired. She's like, all you did was sit there and talk about books. I was like, no, I mean, yeah, but no, it's exhausting to say the same thing over and over. And then you're just standing there like, yeah. So,
yeah. I had one person, the girl next to me. She's like, "You repeat yourself too much. You should say something else." And I'm like, "No, sorry, it bores you, but no." Go to the other side of your table. Get some distance from us. Uh,
I think,
so we are up to 9 people watching us live, which is a decent number for us. So show us some books.
well, I'm glad I wore deodorant. So my genesis of writing, the first 2 movies I ever saw were the original Star Wars in the drive-in. So yeah, I'm kind of old, but I was only 4 at the time, so not that old.
Okay, fair.
And then
I
the
mean, I saw
anime,
Star Wars in the theater, so I'm with you. I'm
yeah,
a couple years older than you, so hey, you're the young guy.
I'll take it because And then a couple years later, my dad took me to see the animated Lord of the Rings, which I still watched. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
40 some years later, I still watch it. So I started writing traditional fantasy, and this is the best selling series, the Northern Crusade, based on Viking stuff. 6 books, and unlike a certain other person who makes a lot of money, I actually finished my series. I'm not gonna name names, but the
It's me. He's talking about me, people.
I mean, if your name is George, but anyway, so so what I do is I take my military background. I was in the artillery in the army for 21 years, but we did a lot of infantry, military police, all that kind of stuff. So I use that. I fought in 3 wars. I was in Iraq and Afghanistan from '02 to '06, basically, and I use that to make more realistic battle scenes. So by the time we get to book 3 in here, I got dwarves with cannons and an army of minotaurs fighting goblins. But that's a different. That's a different
Oh, that's
story.
awesome.
So this is the series that I think every author has that series that they want to take off, but it never really does, and we can't figure out why. This is Dune, Star Wars, Game of Thrones in space, without the brother sister love stuff, because that's not my thing. And if you're watching and it's yours, no judgment, little judgment. But again, 7 books finished, and that was not writing to market. That was letting this go crazy, and I got more enjoyment out of that than the whole writing to market nonsense. But those are what sells more. So maybe one day that'll go off. And my newest series is, I don't know how good you can see that.
That's an awesome cover.
It is book 1 of planned 8. I just started writing book 4 today, actually. And it is D-Day in space, but with aliens fighting giant lizards. What could go wrong?
So the Navy man is judging. So how many series do you have total that you've started and or finished?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 that I finished and 9 that I started, I think.
Nice.
So at some point, but I gotta keep getting. I don't know if you do this, but you work on something and then a new idea pops in your head and it just won't go away. So then I kind of take a detour.
Yep. So, and Ro will appreciate this if he watches it. This series, he yells at me for showing my books all the time. This series did not exist. It was nowhere until April of last year when it took over my life. And so I published that in July, and the second book is coming out March 1st now. It is the silliest thing I could possibly write. The 5 dogs that I've had in my life have each become aliens, and all of their little idiosyncrasies have become racial traits. And they invited the military onto the space station at Proxima Centauri. They can't do anything with the aliens because they're just like, give us your tech. And they're like, no. So the protagonist is an anthropologist who just got his degree. His aunt is running the ship or the station for the humans, so she basically shanghais him, takes him into space, and says, "Here, go make friends with the aliens and steal their tech." And that's where it starts, and it just gets ridiculous from there.
Yeah, what could go wrong? I wrote a book where a guy shows up on a lady's doorstep with a sword that swears a lot, and it wants to kill whoever uses it, and he's being chased by werewolves on motorcycles. So that's
Werewolves on motorcycles, awesome! I love that. What series is that?
That is it's my middle finger to Twilight, because Twilight made me
As it deserves.
Right, and I couldn't do epic for traditional fantasy anymore because the market shifted. And okay, I tried to play the game, so I just made a series where the first book's called "Where Have All the Elves Gone," and all the locations are real. They start here in Raleigh, they go all across North Carolina, and it's shady government agencies. Anybody could be an elf, a dwarf, a troll, or whatever. And I mean, I have a giant that wears tie-dye and listens to the Grateful Dead, and he just makes weapons, a dragon that watches like Magnum PI and the A-Team and all those old 80s shows. And it just kind of goes from there. So
I was going to say, I've been accused of being a troll before. So
I mean, you got a little shade the ear hair.
So EL is here, so I just want to shout to EL real quick. Christian has published 50, how many books?
We haven't got that far yet. I think I just started 45. I got to do the
45
math
books,
again.
and he just started publishing 14 years ago. So, that's the bar you have to beat, EL. You got to pick up the pace. Although I got him to start writing novellas, so he might just, lap you at this point.
I mean, that's I did for this new series. I did cut it down to about 60,000 words a piece because I mean, there's only so much repetitive military stuff you can do before it's just like, yeah, okay.
So
I love
EL is taking the
the
challenge.
challenge.
So beware of him. I was joking with him, and he said, I'm going to write you into a series, Mike. So I'm the bad guy. In the first chapter, I am flaying someone. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then, there's that.
I love that. I run a contest for like the last 5 years or so where every event I do, you sign up for the newsletter, whatever. But at the end of the year, I usually get a third party. And one year it was a snake down in Fayetteville, North Carolina, but that's a weird town. So that's my defense for that. And we pick 2, 3, 4 names maybe out of everybody that signed up over the year. And if your name's picked, then congratulations, you get to die in a book. So let's talk about how you die. And it's way more popular than it should be. And the cops just kind of look at the paper, and because the paper says who dies next, they're like, I just keep walking. But I had a lady last year, 2 years ago, she won. And she's like, I don't want to die, but can you please horribly, and she used the word horribly, murder my ex-fiance because he cheated on me the day before my wedding. I was like, I got to change his name before I do that. So yeah, but sure. Let's.
So for this book, you're welcome, Ro. I actually used a bunch of indie authors that I know, so I made a bingo sheet up of all the people who were in my book, so you can cross them off as you encounter them. And I include that with all the hardbacks, so you get a bingo sheet, and I'm like, just X them out after you meet them, and yeah.
That's a perfect sales thing for a live event.
And Ro is not here to fully voice his complete disdain for Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. So Katie Janeway is the commandant of the station, and her brother is Rosaire Bushy. So I made them, brother and sister, just because I could.
It's the little things in life.
I'm not going to ever get a Netflix series, so by God, I'm going to antagonize friends. What are they else are they there for?
You might as well. I've killed my ex-wife in every one of my books except for my combat memoirs because of legal reasons. But
oh, that's beautiful. So you told me you're going to try to publish. You're going to not try. You're going to publish 4 books this year, right?
Yes.
Are you mad? I'm trying to publish 4 books, and I think it might kill me.
Well, to be fair, I've already written the first 3, so that's the first one. Well, that one already came out, and I've never been in this position before where I'm ahead of schedule. And
wait, what is that? No, that's clearly fantasy.
Well, the last book I wrote, I was 35 days behind the schedule that I wanted, but then the holidays, and I was like, I'm my own boss. I can do whatever I want. But then Amazon said, no, it's already up for pre-order. I was like, all right, I guess I'll do this. So the first 3, the third one's about to go to my editor, and I think I just got the second one back from my formatter. So and then I just started book 4. So I'm good for the year.
Nice. I'm going to try to publish 4, but the first one is essentially done. I got it back from the proofreader. Just need to have it typeset and cover, fit it right, and it's done. I'm writing a choose your own adventure style book set in my fantasy world. That's a very dark fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be like 50-60% of the time you're going to die, no matter what you choose.
Isn't that how they always work? Because I remember devouring those as a kid. And I'm like, damn it, again?
So no one has asked for this, but I'm like, you know what? I started writing my fantasy. It's been 2 years since I published the last book 4 in a 7-book series, and I'm forgetting people's names.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this will kind of ease me back into the world if I write this, and I just have to name drop, and I don't have to give too many details about them, and it's not necessary. So, Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing another novella, hopefully, and then the book that I was supposed to publish last July that just got pushed away because Proxima Station took over my world. So I'm like, yeah, I was one pass away from sending that to my editor, and I've not looked at it now in about a year. So I got to dust that off and get that published. But
And change everything when you start to read it again. Like, no,
of course,
yeah,
yes.
that's
So, but so you are writing military sci-fi. What are your other series that are not completed, and are they going to be completed?
I got a fourth place for the quarter. For it says honorable mention, but it's fourth place. Me and 100 other people, right, for
Right,
the Writers of the
exactly.
Future contest thing.
You tied for fourth.
Yeah, with just so there was
Yeah,
100 people. I still got fourth. What's
right.
what's not the Olympics, but the and it's and I hate to use the standard popular stuff, but it's basically something like The Witcher, where the order of monks with magic powers, they go around and stop the evil from trying to put out the light of the world, and he just goes off, and it's more of a ghost story. So I want to do more with that. And then I did one book in a series where a squad of space marines crash lands on a gunpowder age planet. The god that rules the city gets killed in the very first chapter, and they have to resurrect him before the evil comes back. And they're stuck with the dilemma of, well, we got laser weapons, but we only got so many batteries. So what do we do then? And I think that's about it for now. So
Nice. So you've been, how long? I know you said you didn't publish till like 13, 14 years ago. How long have you been writing, like with the intent to publish?
well, I think the dream was always there. My uncle is, and I've never met him, but he's the guy that writes all of Ken Burns's books, the PBS guy.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and I got a hold of his Civil War book whenever it came, way back when, and I'm like, oh, cool, maybe he can help. No, he can't, because he doesn't believe in things that aren't real. So I was like, all right, well, that's nice. I still got your book, but and so I've always wanted to do that. I started with goofy comic books, and then I wrote the book in high school. No, it's just no. And but my mom said, "Oh, good job." I was like, "No, just no." And then wrote a few in the barracks. Got married the first time. Didn't have time for anything. And then the by the time the war started in Afghanistan, my boss looked at me. He's like, "Do you want to go to war?" And I said, "Well, I don't like Fayetteville, North Carolina, because I've been there for 10 years, and I don't like my ex-wife." So I was like, "I do. I really do." So I wrote a book when I was in Afghanistan. I came home, and then my real unit had shipped out to Iraq to go get ready for the invasion there. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to Iraq. So I wrote another book over there, and then I got divorced and bored a year later and went back to Iraq, and I wrote another book there, and I finished my career as a babysitter at West Point. And so I wrote a couple more there, and then I retired, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And I just
You are the first person I ever heard who said, "Yeah, I was bored of the city, so I wanted to go to war."
Yeah,
Um,
and my ex-wife, I was bored with
oh,
her too.
and your ex-wife. Okay, can't forget that part. That's important. Uh,
Well, I don't, what people don't really understand is war is so boring when nobody's shooting at you. It's so boring. So I had plenty of paper, a pack of pens, and I'm like, all right, let's do this.
oh, so you did it old school and you wrote it out,
Yeah,
pen and paper.
I still have them here somewhere down here. The in 3-ring binders. The first 7 books I wrote are all pen and paper.
Nice. So, do you have any trunk novels that you just no, not publishing that, throw it away or throw it
No,
in the corner and forget
I
about it?
threw it all out there, except for, well,
Except your
I
10th
did
grade.
one series. I had written the first 120 pages, and then I was like, this sucks. So I just cannibalized it and just threw the whole thing away and kept a few names and a few locations. And about 10 years after that, I went back to it, and it turned out to be 4 books altogether.
Oh, okay then.
And I
Well,
got
that's not
plenty of
bad.
things that I don't get around to, but
So, how many books do you read in a year?
less than 30.
Yeah.
I see some of these people saying they read 40 books last month. I was like, you're lying, but okay. I was like, how? I sit down in the morning and I read a little bit and 50, 100 pages, have my coffee, get my day started. But I can't do it. I don't remember half the stuff I read anyway. So
And I have to ask, do you believe in DNFing, or must you finish a book if you start it?
there's only been two books where I just couldn't do it. And I don't remember the second one, but the first one was one of Neil Stephenson's books, and it was all about music and math. And I made it like 60 pages, and I took it back to the bookstore. I was like, I already have this. I guess I bought it twice. And like, I just couldn't. And then I forgot what the other book was, but most of the time I'll at least try to stick through it. Oh,
See, I am very quick to DNF. I'm like, if you start boring me, I'm going to give up on it. So,
I will say with the Wheel of Time stuff, and like, and I met him when book 7 came out. I got a book signed by him, and he was so boring, but he had a lot of health problems. His wife was a little firecracker and just happy to meet everybody. And he was like, I hate my life. Here's your book. But I understand he was, now I understand. I was like, oh, he had problems. But, and I think there were 3 books where all I did was read the dialogue. I just skipped everything else because there's only so much spanking I can read about, and dudes on boats not wearing shirts, or the lady tugging her hair. I'm like, I get it. I got it. Yep. So I just skipped it all. And my dad, who got me started into all this, I gave the whole series to him when I finally finished it last year, the year before. I was like, you know what? Happy birthday. I know you like all this stuff. And he's like, you don't want these books back, do you? And I said, no. Why? He's like, good Lord, those are terrible. I gave them away to the library. I was like okay, yeah. I mean, let's
yeah, I'd never started when I would go as a teenager since I had no game. I went to the bookstore all the time.
Yep.
And you see Eye of the World, then you'd see like I was like, oh, is that the same book with a different? No, that's book 2. I'm like, God, they're so thick. And then you just like you're horrified, like it takes up an entire shelf. You're like, will he ever stop writing? And I was like, I just look. I'm like, that's a time commitment I'm just not willing to make.
Yeah.
So
It took
I
me
never even
8
started them.
months. And I didn't read them until 2 years ago. So
Ooh.
I
Well,
started
see,
the whole Game of Thrones books. I made it to book 2, and I was like, this is taking way too long. So I just kind of stopped. But
I hated Game of Thrones. I read book 1 because my brother kept telling me how great it was, and then I got like halfway through book 2, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't like the characters. I don't like the characters 50 pages ago or the ones 100 pages ago. I want them all to die. Can someone drop a nuclear bomb and end this? And I was like, why am I reading this? So,
yeah,
yeah, I am one of those people. I cannot stand Game of Thrones. I think it's awful.
yeah,
And I tell people the only way he knows how to build tension is to get very grotesquely detailed in whatever it is. I'm like, that's the only way the man knows how to build tension.
yeah.
And I'm like, you're a hack. You have 3 more zeros after your name than me, but you're a hack.
Well, I think I was talking to somebody a little while ago. I think the last book I bought, because I find almost nothing at bookstores anymore. I'm just
Yeah.
now, I think I started the 5th book in The Expanse, and that reads like a comic book basically. And I said the last book I actually bought was written in 1968, the whole Dragon Riders of Pern thing. I bought the first
Oh,
3 book anthology, and I know I
yeah,
read it a long time ago,
those are so good. I love those.
but
Have you read the?
if you look back over here somewhere, it's all the Edgar Rice Burroughs, all the original Conan stories, and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I read those every couple of years, and like no problem with it.
See, I've never read Conan. I just bought it on audiobook,
Mm-hmm.
like the complete or whatever. So I do want to tackle that, but I uh I tried to read a bunch of indie authors, but I mean I read fantasy for 25 years, just and then I just got bored. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen. Oh, they're mad at this people. Guess what? They're going to end up in a party where they have to rely upon this group of people who they hate. I'm like, I can tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just got bored, and I stopped reading for like 15 years.
And that's how
Um,
sparkly vampires came around.
yeah, And then I started. So now I pretty much I just read indie. I read a few trad books. I got hooked on Dresden Files, so I read those. Um, but mostly it's indie because there are no rules. You can write whatever story you want. There are no gatekeepers to stop you. So
No, they try
and
to,
that
but
is, I mean, you can find absolute gold and you can find absolute trash
yeah.
when you do indie. But which is why I'm like, you know what? I will DNF in a heartbeat because if it's not working for me, I am too old to read bad books.
Yeah, I do a lot of side work on Fiverr, so I've done like 3,000 different jobs, from press releases to finding agents for people, and a lot of back covers for other authors. And my intent was so I could get better, but it turns out that once you follow the formula, I'm like, I got a knack for this. So, and I get my kicks out of it, and I've helped athletes, famous musicians, motivational speakers, and a lot of indie authors. And recently, one of them was a lady in England, and I was like, I really want to read this story when it gets published, because this was it was right up my alley. And it's and about two little girls in India or Pakistan or something. Their mother died, and they moved to a different village, and they wound up having they're like princesses from a different kind of realm, and I was like, I like this. I don't know if it was written any good, but
So yeah, even finding bookstores can be difficult.
yeah. All we got is
Um,
Barnes and Noble here.
well, that's one more than I have. So I haven't been to a bookstore in I don't know how long. Well, no, I went to the one in Columbus, Ohio, the one that was like a home and then a couple homes, and they built, and now they have to give you a map because it makes no sense the layout, and it has like
It's
30
like
rooms or so.
it's
Yeah,
IKEA for books.
yeah. But so what do you like to read when you read? You do fantasy, sci-fi, everything?
Fantasy, sci-fi. I have another master's in military history, so I can't escape that. My family's been fighting wars for, I think we traced it back to around the year 500. So that's kind of the entire bottom row behind me is all history and cookbooks. So when I'm not doing when I'm not reading and working, I love to whip up stuff in the kitchen. So
So we're going to do the Bald Dome, which was not made just for you, but I mean you are perfect for it.
could
Um,
have worn a hat. That's
so what this is that I need you to pick one of your characters, preferably a fantasy character, and we want to learn more about your character without you giving us spoilers for this book itself. So we're going to transport this person to another location. They'll have an encounter, and I'll set it up and say what will they do, and then you tell me the story, and that way we can learn about what your character is like without actually spoiling the actual book.
Man, that's pressure. So like fantasy or like
Just
urban.
somebody they're going to be good to. I mean, you can do a space marine if you want, but they're going to a fantastical setting. So just somebody who will not be like kicking the trees, going, "Is this real?"
Oh, well, that's it. Okay, so the Elves Among Us stories. The main character's name is Daniel Thomas, and I don't know where I
Daniel,
came up with the idea, but he's a former army guy that writes fantasy books.
huh?
So, and then
Amazing.
he kind of gets thrown into this little hidden world of elves and dwarves and government agencies.
Okay, so we are going to take Daniel Thomas, which is the names of two of my brothers. So I kind of want to kill him. So he is going to be transport. Oh, I need to know what is your favorite color.
Huh, navy blue. I know
Okay,
I said
so
maybe, but
Daniel Thomas has been transported to a faraway world, but the reason why this happened is he went into an alchemist shop, and the alchemist said, "Hey, this one potion here that's unlabeled, you can have it for free. I guarantee you 100% it will work. I just don't know what it does."
okay.
So he has that with him. and he is being transported to a different world. Now you get a choice here. He can have one common item, or he can have one weapon. If he gets a common item, he will face a common animal in an encounter. It can be violent, it can be, tea party. I don't care, just something. Or if he chooses a weapon, he will face a fantasy creature. So does he want a weapon or does he want a common item?
Well, me personally, I have always thought about taking a heavy machine gun back to the Alamo just to see what would happen. So, I mean, let's roll with that.
Okay, well, it's going to be a fantasy weapon, so it's going to be like a sword or a hammer or something like that. It's not going to be a.
Right.
But okay,
So,
so he wants
well,
a weapon,
how about like
or
a
does?
mace or something like that?
Well, I rolled, so I'll tell you what he gets.
Okay.
You don't get to select, but so okay, so good old Daniel Thomas has been transported, and all of his possessions, other than clothes, because it's a family show, were left behind. Um, so he's just him and his potion, and he has been transported to the Ice Palace. It's a gleaming citadel of ice with stark contrast to the endless tundra. There are diamonds sparkling under the winter suns, frozen statues of warriors lining the halls, a throne carved from a single glacier dominates the grand chamber. Blah 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 blah. Let's see, guarded by frost wolves whose howls echo like shattering glass. So he's in the ice palace, throne room.
At least he has clothes on.
Yeah, good thing.
That's
Otherwise, could be very embarrassing for him. So he
shrinkage.
has his potion, which is a navy blue fizzy potion in an Erlenmeyer flask. I'm a chemist, so I have to throw that in. The and you said he wants a weapon. So his weapon that he is given upon entering, because it's the strangest of all throne rooms, it lets you have weapons, is a 5 foot tall warhammer.
Okay.
So he has a potion, he has a warhammer, and lo and behold, right behind the throne, in the most unlikely thing possible, there is a giant swarm of poisonous spiders. I don't know how your person can tell they're poisonous by looking at them, but he can. So there is a swarm of poisonous spiders that come running out from either side of the giant ice throne that's set on its own glacier. You have a 5 foot tall warhammer. What does Daniel Thomas do? And you have the potion. Can't forget the potion.
I mean, the hammer could smash stuff, but how heavy is the thing, and how many times are you going to get a whack before the spiders jump you? I think he might take the potion.
Okay, it is an elixir of vitality. So it instantly restores your health, which has not been damaged yet, and it increases your stamina for an hour. So he will not get tired for the next hour. And he has a 5 foot hammer and poisonous spiders that are, creeping towards him on the ice. Somehow they're not slipping.
Who doesn't like curling?
Well, actually, like every fourth leg does slip, but since they have 8, So they're coming towards you. There's venom dripping from their teeth that you can see because, of course, there are. And you are in the throne room. It appears to be empty other than you and the spiders. What does Daniel do?
I'm thinking he's going to turn around and hightail it out of there since he's got the extra stamina and trying to figure out dupe the spiders into going down the wrong hallway or something.
Okay, well, I'm going to roll to see. Let's see. Have you played D&D before?
A long time ago, yes.
So extra stamina, I'm going to say 15 or better. He outruns them.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Ro is not here to see this. I just rolled an 18. Normally I don't roll higher than an 8. So you're able to run back out the throne room door, turn the corner, and the spiders don't realize it, go on past you. So that ends the encounter, I guess. But I don't know. It'd kind of get bored if you had to kill every last spider.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Okay, so we had one person who he went. I think he's fighting a Manicore, so he swung and he missed, and the Manicore swung and missed, and they did that 3 times each. He's like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and have a tea party with this Manicore, and that's how it ended. So cool. Okay, well, Daniel survives the day. Tell us about Daniel anyway, because we didn't get to learn a lot about his personality.
Well, I mean, okay, he was me put on paper because when I retired from the army, I had trouble fitting in with normal people because okay, the military is a really small population, and if anything, we're the ones that stick out in the crowd. So I can't even now. I've been retired for since 2011. I still don't feel comfortable in a crowd of normal people because we don't. I mean, the stuff I did and the stuff that so, but I make it work. So he is writing his fantasy book. He goes to his agent, tells him, "Yeah, no, sorry, that's not what publishers are looking for." He goes to confront her, finds her getting attacked by a bunch of shady looking dudes. And when she dies, she just puffs apart into a cloud of smoke and ash. And he's like, no, that's no. And then somebody grabs him and says, we got to go. And he just kind of gets thrown into this world. And the elves, of course, are politicians. The dwarves are elf stereotypes, right? The dwarves are
Right.
bankers and jewelers, smoke cigars and have machine guns. And it takes him a while, but he finally starts to he's like, okay, I was in the army, so now I'm starting to feel comfortable and let's do this. But then, of course, the government gets involved, and what government agency isn't shady? So they kind of maintain the status quo between, yeah, they're real, but you don't need to know about it. And we just kind of go from there. And he gets caught up in a plot where he has to figure out how much to tell his wife and how much is actually real and maintain living in the real world and then being wrapped up in, I think the first book, they're trying to kill the elf king or something. I think that's what I wrote it a while ago. And he gets caught up in, it's a quest, but they're riding in a purple Challenger with a gargoyle that's driving. So it's getting hounded by helicopters.
Is this the book that has the werewolves on motorcycles?
That is book 3, and the
Oh, that's
sword that
book
wants to kill whoever uses it.
Nice. I think this is must read type of stuff here. This is right up my alley. It's ridiculous, but in a fun way.
Yeah, by book
Um,
4, and since it is a family show, by book 4, I have a buddy of mine he runs his own comic book outfit, and I said, dude, I want to use you, and I'm gonna have you get kidnapped by goblins, and they want him to make a comic book and tell the real story that hey, we're not the dirtbags everybody thinks we are. So he gets kidnapped, and then the main guy, Daniel Thomas, goes to go get him, and they stop at the Devil's Tramping Ground here in North Carolina, where legend says the devil used to walk around in a circle in the middle of nowhere to try and figure out how to steal souls. I don't know why he wouldn't go to New York or London, but he went to a field in North Carolina, but whatever. And they take him down to Charleston, and he gets put on trial, and he gets accused of a word that starts with an F and it ends with Uri. There might be a couple hard EK sounds in there. So, and just I had fun with it, but that's
so, and I will tell you that we have like 550 subscribers, so we're not monetized. So don't worry
right.
about that.
That's
So I'm going to. Oh, where'd you go? There it is. Let me pull this up here. If someone was going to read a book from you, I believe these are the first book in your various series, or at least
yes.
some of them. Where would you tell them to start, or would you have to qualify that by asking what do they like and all that? But what is quintessential Christian Warren Freed work here?
Well, they're all different facets. So going from left to right, that's the military sci-fi, the D-Day in space with aliens fighting lizards. The Hammers in the Wind, traditional fantasy with some mythology. Where have all the elves gone behind my shiny? You made that really shiny. I'm already pale enough, but man. So that's downtown Raleigh on the cover behind my head. The next one, The Dreams of Winter, that's the one I think where I put everything I had into that series, and politics, military stuff, a civil war, gods, witches that live on a comet. And the one to the right, The Lazarus Men, is a 6-book series that James Bond in space. So I tried to get a little bit for everybody there.
Nice. So, Lazarus Men. Um, what is the setup for that series?
That is so I wrote each of the 6 books. The last book is Titanic in space that gets hijacked by terrorists. So that's the plot for that story. But I wrote all the books like the James Bond movies. You got the main guy and you got the outfit he's working with, the Lazarus Men. There's some real bad dudes, but nobody knows why. The main bad guy's been alive for hundreds of years, and you don't find that out until book 5, I think, when that storyline wraps up. And the first, so even in James Bond, he's not really the main character. There's other characters that he just kind of steps into their story for most of them. And the first one is a guy witnesses a murder, excuse me, and wrong place, wrong time. He witnesses somebody get killed. They chase him away, and he winds up having to leave Earth. And they cross his paths with one of the Lazarus Men agents, the main character, and it just kind of goes from there. And it turns into I think the first one's kind of a treasure hunt, and then the second one is an old guy wants to live forever, gets all these people together from different planets and everything, and like, hey, whoever finds this, you're the winner. But obviously bad stuff happens. The third one is a straight up murder mystery whodunit, because I like to mix in those old film noir detective movies into that. And
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
my mom's fault for watching those. And so the third one's a straight up whodunit, and the fourth one is my take on Clint Eastwood's The Bounty Hunter movie, where he's putting the 2 gangs against each other in the town. I don't remember, Fistful of Dollars or A Few Dollars More. I don't remember which one. And then the fifth one wraps up the storyline. And then the sixth one, because I had so many of my readers that wanted to die in a book, I had like 20 people. I was like, well, this is ridiculous. So I made it happen. And I just did the whole terrorist hijack the Titanic in space thing. And it pulls the main guy back out of retirement because he's done with everything. And the government was like, no, you're really not. I need you to come back in real quick. So
Nice. And tell us about Crimson Spider, because that's what you're working on this year, right?
right. So this goes back to a little bit of what I did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of bit about what my grandfather and the whole generation did on. So the first 4 books are basically the Normandy campaign. The Crimson Spiders are a special operations unit. So I spent 14 years in the 101st Airborne Division, so I'm kind of proud of that part. And I just imagine watching Band of Brothers, and then so that's first 4 books. They drop behind enemy lines and they go on a bunch of different missions. The third book, I had they had to go rescue downed pilots, and then the second half of the series is going to be more along the lines of the Pacific Island hopping campaign from World War II.
So you told me off camera that this is D-Day in space, aliens versus lizards.
Absolutely.
So from whose perspective are you telling this? From the lizards or from the aliens?
From the aliens.
So is it good versus bad, or is it just 2 armies fighting one another?
The lizards. So the aliens, they could be people, they could be different color skins, whatever,
Right.
scales, fur, but it just picture Star Wars, right? So except for, I mean, they were all clones. Don't picture Star Wars, never mind. But with the space army from people from 1,000 different worlds, and then the lizards just kind of show up and say, hey, we're here, it's ours. So they've been at war, I think 10 years, either 5 or 10 years by the time this story starts. And it's actually the genesis. I wrote the first book I wrote when in the 90s is called Tomorrow's Demise. I had a publisher make it. They had me split it up into 2 books, but I wrote it as one story. And it was Clint Eastwood style bounty hunters in the desert fighting genetically created monsters that just wanted to kill people. And then the space armies, which turn out to be the Crimson Spider guys, and they get sent in because they need the planet to secure it as a logistics base for their war against the lizards. And then it kind of goes from there. It had everything in there: pirates that float on lava, dinosaurs, a dragon, a one wizard, and some little green dude with stalks, with his eyes on stalks, but he was a good guy. So, and then I wrote a short story called Crimson Spiders, where it was like a fire base in Vietnam type of thing. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to do more. So I found my cover artist and I was like, hey, I need 8 covers. Here's the storylines. Have fun. And he came up with all 8 of them, which I've been sitting on for 2 or 3 years now. And he's like, you better use those. I spent a lot of work on a lot of time on those. I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of money on them. So of course I'm going to use them.
Yeah.
So now here we are.
So, just because this is me, I have my fantasy series. I've written 4 books. It's going to be 7 books. I've had all covers now for a couple years. My sci-fi, I've written 1 book. It's going to be 5, and I just talked to the artist this past weekend about doing books 4 and 5, the covers. Even though I'm just working on book 2, later on this year. How many covers do you have, like sitting, waiting for the story to be written? Do you have a bunch, or is this
Uh,
just
right now, I only have the other 7 for the Crimson Spiders. But if you so the I've had a bunch of them redone. I got a whole folder with I think 30 different covers because the I couldn't they just weren't selling, and I'm thinking about changing the white ones there, the Dreams of Winter, but that's my best seller at live events. And I don't
yep?
know why it doesn't do well online or through like the Ingram Spark or anything, but at live events, people love the covers. So I guess I'm keeping those, but
Is that
I
the Hammer in the Wind?
no, that's the Dreams of Winter
Oh,
with the
oh,
the blue
okay.
box
Oh,
and the
Dreams of Winter. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Hammers in the Wind. I have all 6 of those, and that was actually done by one of my former cadets when I was at West Point, and she wound up quitting the school and going on to other things. But I think she worked for who is it? Not Epic Games, somebody in California, and wound up getting in the whole esports thing, and she did all 6 of those and a few other covers for me. So
Nice. Okay. Um. So you mentioned dinosaurs. So, and Roe's not here to stop me. So I'm going to ask the question that he said was banned for the year. Um. I want you to picture going down the main drag of your city.
okay,
You're in a saddle. Now, this saddle can either be on a griffin or a T Rex. Which one do you choose and why? Up, and there's Roe.
that's that's well, we already started the question, so it's that's a tough question. It all depends what I'd be doing. I mean, if I was trying to get somewhere, it would probably be a griffin so I could fly out of there. But I mean, if I just wanted to look cool, who doesn't want to ride on the back of a T-Rex? Of course, that reminds me of a horrible movie I saw on Amazon. I don't remember what it was, but it was basically Nazis on the moon and Hitler showed up riding a T-Rex. I don't remember the name of it. It was a horrible movie, but that's
So it is, I will say it is about 90-10. 90% of the people get this question wrong and they say Griffin. Um, but when I drive, I'm very much a road rager. And so the idea that I could have a T Rex and I could just have him pick up cars with his mouth and throw them into the second story of buildings to get out of my way, oh, I mean, that's just my happy place. Um,
See,
so
that's why I want to plow on the front of my truck. I keep telling my wife, it's like, I just need one. And she's like, why? And then I was like, I look at her and she's like, no. I was like, all right. So that's,
So you want the one that like a train engine, so you can just push the cars out of the way, or do you want to like lift them up and toss them behind you?
I don't really want to hurt anybody. I mean, I may say I do, but I don't actually want to. But I
Well, the
would,
legal bills would be, would kill you. Yeah. So
right?
yeah.
Or let me get the trash truck one day. Leave the keys in the thing, and so because my street right out here, everybody parks on the street. I can't even walk my dogs down the middle of the road without hitting the car. So just let me get the trash truck one day, and just to be a demolition derby.
Did you see the one president? I think he as president of Chechnya or whatever, where he drove a tank down the road because it said no parking and people did, so he got in a tank and they rolled over top of cars.
See, that's a beautiful thing.
I know it. I'm like, I just need to. That's just when I get angry. That just goes mentally on replay in my mind. I'm like, in my mind, I'm rolling over you with a tank. Uh,
That's when you just chuckle every once in a while. You just chuckle for no reason. In your head, it all plays out, but people look at you like, not talking to that guy.
and that's great because as an introvert, I don't want to talk to people. So if you laugh, even maniacally every once in a while, that'll keep people away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm for it. Uh, so do you have? this is danger zone. What other story ideas do you have cooking? Do you have anything that you really want to write that you haven't, like a different genre? Do you want to write a cozy mystery, or I don't know, Twilight 2?
Well, the I'm not gonna lie. At one point, and it came from doing so many back covers for other people, and a lot of it was romance stuff. I'm like, that garbage sells so bad. I met who did I meet? Catherine Bell, the lady that was on Jag and the Good Witch shows on Hallmark or whatever. I met her last October, and I said, because of you, I have seen every freaking Hallmark Christmas movie there is. And she's like, oh, do you sit there with hot cocoa and whipped cream? I was like, no, what's wrong with you? It's like, there's no whipped cream on it. But and so
And there's Kahlua in it.
yeah, maybe. Well, I'm a bourbon guy, so maybe just skip
There,
that and
there
just
you go.
straight to bourbon. But for monetary value, I considered coming up with a pen name and writing some crappy romance novels. Like, it sells, so
Yeah, fair. I don't know. I think if I were to write romance, they'd be like, somebody needs to give this person a manual. That's not how it works. Uh, so, and as a native Kentuckian, I'm glad you said your tipple of choice is bourbon. What do you like to drink? Bourbon. Do you have a favorite brand?
well, I have two brand, but I like the Old Forester Statesman, and if I can ever find it, the McKenna Henry Bottled and Bond. But I think I have 50 different bourbons. I almost got the whole word Blanton spelled from the bottles, but I don't think that's as good as the price warrants on the secondary market. But my wife's a realtor, and we went. Her convention was in Louisville a few years ago,
Yeah.
and we stayed on right downtown on 4th Street in the old Seelbach Hotel, where it was the opening scene from the movie Stripes, where Bill Murray picked up the grumpy old lady, which I had no idea that was filmed there, and then the doorman, the retired doorman, he's like, yeah, I was in the movie as a Russian soldier, and the final scene, the battle was fought at I think he said Jim Beam at the distillery. So she did her real estate nonsense, and I was going all over the place to Lexington and just
Yep.
hitting all the distilleries. Like, look where I went today.
You did the Bourbon Trail before the Bourbon Trail was a thing, or
I I went to the places I wanted to go to for the
yeah,
most part. I didn't make it to Maker's Mark or Woodford Reserve, but we went to Four Roses, Buffalo Trace. Spent a lot of time at Buffalo Trace, and Old Forester and a couple other ones.
uh, so when you were in the army, where were you stationed? Did you travel the world, or were you stateside most of the time, except for war?
Well, that's why I went to war. So right off the bat, I went to the Korean DMZ, which as an 18-year-old, I had the time of my life. I'm not going to get into details,
Yeah,
but then I came here to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and once they get their hooks in you, they don't let you leave. So I spent 5 years here, and then I got orders to go back to Korea. And the messed up part, my former platoon sergeant wound up being my branch manager for the Department of the Army, just for the artillery guys. And I got my orders to go back to Korea. And so I called him up. I was like, hey, and for platoon sergeants, we called him Smoke. And I was like, hey, Smoke. I was like, I've already been to Korea. I don't want to go back. I want to go to Alaska. And I said, I got this guy here next to me. He's only got like a year left. He wants to go to Korea. So before he gets out, and then he's like, you know what? I tell you, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put him on assignment to go to Alaska. And then when he's on assignment, I'll switch the orders around. You go to Alaska, he goes to Korea. Everybody's happy. A month later, I saw the same guy running next to me in Korea. I was like, yeah, we're here now. So and then I left Korea, came back in the same unit I was at the first time 5 years earlier, just a different battery. And then I came back to Fort Bragg, same unit again, just same battery. And then that's when the war started, and I was like, please just get me out of here, please. So,
yep.
And then war, and then I finished at West Point.
Oh. So did you ever go to Fort Lee for training?
Not Fort Lee. I've been to other places in Virginia.
I was just going to say, because I live a stone's throw away from Fort Lee, so.
I've been to Oceana Naval Air Station. That was cool because we put all our stuff on boats we flew up, and then all the gear, the equipment went on boats, and we drove these huge, giant army trucks out into the ocean and loaded our stuff up and came back. So that was pretty. You know what? I was at Fort Lee for a week, but that was mid '90s, I think, when we did all that stuff. Because that's where we went when we left the Naval Air Base.
Yeah. Okay. Well. So are you doing any live events this year, or are you just writing?
I'm starting to line them up. So there's a new 3-day event here in Raleigh at the end of this month. I can't remember what it's called to save my life, but it's at the Sheraton Hotel the last weekend of February. There's a couple events in around here. I couldn't get into GalaxyCon Raleigh, so I took another author's spot and I took the Carolina Cryptid Fest at the State Fairgrounds because he said if he wasn't doing GalaxyCon, that's where he'd be. I was like, well, he makes a lot of money. You know who I'm talking about. I was like, okay, I'll listen to him. So I'm in there, and then he invited me to join him here in Raleigh for GalaxyCon's Nightmare Weekend in October. So, and there's other little ones scattered throughout the state over the course of the year.
So you mostly just a couple hours drive away from home for events then?
Yeah. Although there's what Heroes Con in Charlotte. That's a 3-day thing. So then I'll wind up spending the whole time in downtown Charlotte. But if I had to do more, then I would. But I'm not in that position where I have to.
Right. So, question: what is your least favorite part of writing? Whether it's the writing, the editing, the marketing, the comic, whatever, the whole ball of wax. What's your least favorite?
Editing. I no, just and I know it's and so I tell all my editors when I get them, I was like, look, I'm gonna hate you for a couple weeks, and then as soon as it's over with, and I'm like, much better now. You're my favorite person in the world. But while I'm going through it and reading all the comments,
Yeah. See, my favorite part is editing. My absolute least favorite is the first draft takes 50% of the total time for me to publish a book is wrapped up in just going from blank page to something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, after that I can make it better, but I have to have something to work with.
Yeah.
And I mean, Roe is actually my editor, and I'll send it to him, he'll send it back, and I'll read through it that day. I'll read everything, and I'll be like, he freaking doesn't know what he's talking about. The whole, how dare he mark up my baby. And then I the next day I'm like, okay, I may have overreacted. He may have had one or two good points of the 97 comments he made.
Yep.
And then I let it another day or two, and I read him like, yeah, he's pretty much right just about every single time. And so, you got to get that, okay, he's the worst, like you said, worst person in the world. And then you're like, okay, I'm over it now.
Well, speaking of worst person in the world, so I was supposed to, and I don't think that we're going to get in at all, but I was supposed to team up with him and another guy, James Maxted, for GalaxyCon Raleigh here, but we're already February, so we're on the wait list, and we're not going to get in because I think it sold out for vendors before it even ended last year, if I remember right. So, but if they do get in, you are more than welcome to take my spot because that's when that Carolina Cryptid thing is. So.
Okay. Actually, I don't know if you're interested or not, but I just got an email today from CoastalCon that they got reconfigured or something. They have 19 tables that they didn't originally have planned for that they have, and they said going for $250 or for a table instead of the normal $300. So if you want to go to CoastalCon in Wilmington, it's the first weekend in March, like the 7th and 8th, I think.
Okay.
There are tables available as of noon today.
Okay, because I went before it became that. It was the Wilmington Comic Con, so I've done that a couple times, right across from the battleship there and all that at the convention center. So okay, yeah, I'll look into that.
So, and we talked pre-show. I'm going to buy a couple of your titles and sell them. So if you go to that show, let me know, and I won't actually try to outcompete you to sell your books. Because it's like, well, you could buy them from him and get him to autograph it, or you can buy them from me and not. So yeah, but yeah, I'm shocked that we haven't seen each other on the trail somewhere. But I either do Virginia or else I travel ridiculous amounts Uh, our friend James Maxey has me going to Indianapolis, and then 2 weeks later, I'm going to New Orleans.
Yeah, so right next
Yeah,
to each other.
yeah, yeah, from Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
So yeah, great.
And he was just in Nashville. So that's
Yeah. So, but yeah, Christian, thank you for being on the show. Um, See, I can run one of these without Roe. I don't need him.
can't wait to see your next book come back from the editor.
If it comes back. He's like, yeah, I'm almost done. Give me another month.
Missing chapters and
Oh no, no. See, I can't. I have to be nice to Roe because you said you've made like almost every mistake.
I
I
think I
actually
tried to.
published a book. I published a book. It had the same chapter in there twice, and it is the cringiest chapter I will ever write in my life. And of course, it was in there twice in a row. And I like as soon as I launched, I'm like, great, give me 40 paperbacks, 40 hardbacks. So I have like 80 hard copies of this. And then someone's like, the chapter's in there twice, right? I'm like, you're messing with me. He goes, no, seriously. So he like, I'm like, oh my god, I just want to die.
Special edition. That's what it is.
Yeah. I had a person I saw. She knew I was coming to. I went to Worldcon last year in Seattle, and she's like, "Do I have a copy of your book with the double chapter of the cringy chapter?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, you do." She's like, "You're signing that second chapter for me. I'm bringing." I'm like, "No, just burn it. I'll give you a new copy for free." It's like, "No, no, you're." I'm like, "Ugh."
But see, that's what keeps things fun with people like that. I go up to the mountains here at Hickory Con, and I sold the Hammers in the Wind, the whole book series, to this one guy. And his entire claim to fame was, well, one, not wearing deodorant, but it was he stacked things on his head and just walked around and nothing fell off. So the whole day I'd see this guy just walking around with all 6 books and a Coke can on top of his head, and he'd do like,
Nice.
I was like, yeah, because
Free advertising. Yeah,
I think that's it's better than a billboard, I guess. But okay,
yeah. So, well, Christian, thank you for being on the show.
thank you for having me. I
You're
really
welcome back
appreciate it.
anytime. I would say next time you publish a book, but that'll be like every month we'll have you on.
Yeah,
Um,
I only got so many stories.
but thank you again. I guess we're going to end it here unless there's something that you want to shout out to the 17 people who are currently watching us live and all the other people on replay and everyone like and subscribe. It only took me an hour and 7 minutes to remember to say that, but
Well, I always forget to try and I'll have conversations with people at events, and it'll be a great conversation. And they'll buy a book, and I'll forget to charge them, and they'll forget to pay, and then like they'll walk away 10 feet, and they turn, and I turn at the same time, and they're like, "I didn't pay. You didn't pay." Yeah, oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, that's kind of how
yeah,
this was.
I had a woman I was selling in a mall, and she's like, This is going to be a stocking stuffer for my 16-year-old kid." And I was like, "Okay, here it is. Let me mark this." And so she walked away. I was like, "Hey, I never asked her to pay." And I looked, and she was like running down the mall.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
different.
I'm like, lady, you're like 42, 44 years old. Really, you can't pay for a one book, and you're going to give it to your son as a stock? I'm like, you know what? I don't have the energy. I probably couldn't track you down anyway. If it was a race, I'd probably lose. So hopefully he likes it, and you have to buy the rest of the series.
There you go. That's
So, oh well. Well, again, Christian, thank you. I'm going to actually go this time instead of suggesting.
no, my
Not
wife's
so.